The twin suns burned high above a wide red desert. The ground cracked under the heat and the air shimmered like fire. A human traveler named Eli Turner walked slowly, his face half covered with a dusty scarf. He was tired, hungry, and searching for metal parts left from an old crash. Eli was not from this planet. He had crash-landed 3 months ago on Zerath, a world full of strange creatures and endless sand. His ship was broken beyond repair. Every day he searched for anything useful to survive. But that day, something different waited for him. As he walked near a group of sharp rocks, he heard it, a weak, trembling voice. It was not the wind. It sounded like someone crying. Please, someone, help my mommy." Eli froze. The voice was soft, childlike, but strange, not human. He followed the sound, climbing over hot stones until he saw a small shape sitting in the dust. It was a child, maybe 7 or 8 years old, with green skin and silver eyes. Her small arms were shaking. When she saw Eli, she gasped and stepped back. "Don't hurt me, please," she cried. Eli raised both his hands. "It's okay. I won't hurt you. I'm human." "Who are you?" The little girl's lip trembled. "My name is Rin, my mommy. She's tied to a rock." The soldiers said she must stay there until the suns burn her. "Please help her." Eli's heart sank. "Tied to a rock? Why?" She tried to help the old ones escape. The guard said it's the punishment for disobedience. Tears fell down her cheeks. They left her in the sun since morning. Eli looked around. The land was empty, silent. No soldiers. Just the dry wind. He knelt beside the girl. "Show me where." Rin grabbed his hand. Her small fingers were cold, shaking. She led him across the sand, past the broken metal towers and bone-like rocks. They walked for 20 minutes until they reached a flat area. And there, Eli stopped in shock. A woman, clearly alien, was tied to a huge dark stone. Her skin was pale purple, her hair silver like her daughter's eyes. The ropes around her wrists and legs were made of some glowing metal. Her lips were dry, her eyes half open. Rin screamed and ran to her. "Mommy!" The woman lifted her head weakly. "Rin? Oh, go away. They'll come back." Eli rushed forward. "It's okay, I'll get you out." The woman's eyes widened slightly. "You're human?" "Yes, don't worry, I'll help." He tried to untie the ropes, but they were hot and tight. He burned his fingers. He cursed under his breath and looked around. There was no knife, no tool. Then he remembered the small plasma cutter in his bag. He took it out and pressed it against the rope. Sparks flew. The woman gasped in pain as the metal heated. "Stop, it's linked to my veins." Eli froze. "What do you mean?" Rin cried. "If you break it wrong, it hurts her." Eli thought fast. He took a deep breath and studied the rope. He saw small energy veins running through it, glowing blue like electricity. He realized he had to cut the power first, not the rope. "Hold on," he said. He took out a piece of wire and stuck it into the sand, creating a small ground line. Then, using his cutter carefully, he made a precise cut in the lower joint of the glowing metal. The blue light flickered and died. The woman fell forward, weak but free. Eli caught her before she hit the ground. "Got you," he said softly. Rin hugged her mother tightly, sobbing. "Mommy, you're safe now." Eli gave them his water flask. The woman drank slowly, her hands trembling. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered. "They'll come for you now. The soldiers never forgive anyone who breaks their law." Eli looked toward the horizon where dark shapes were moving through the heat waves. His jaw tightened. "Let them come," he said. "I'm not leaving anyone to die in the sun." The woman stared at him with disbelief, a human risking his life for her, a stranger from another world. The wind picked up, carrying the sound of engines from afar. The moment of peace vanished. Eli stood tall, shielding the alien mother and daughter behind him. "Stay close," he said, his voice calm but cold. "Looks like we're about to have company." The suns glared down as shadows approached, and the desert, for the first time in a long while, waited to witness something new. The air trembled as the sound of engines grew louder. Dust clouds rose in the distance, glowing gold under the twin suns. Eli stood between the alien woman and her daughter, watching the horizon with sharp eyes. His heart beat fast, but his face stayed calm. The alien woman, still weak, whispered, "They are coming." The sun guards never stop. Once they mark someone for punishment, they destroy everyone who interferes. Eli glanced down at her. "What's your name?" She hesitated. "Lyra." All right, Lyra, he said, gripping his small plasma cutter. I didn't save you to let them take you again. Stay behind that rock with your daughter. Rin clung to her mother. Please, human. Don't fight them. They'll kill you. Eli gave her a small smile. Let's hope they don't try. Within minutes, 5 hoverbikes roared into view, leaving burning trails across the sand. Each rider wore bright armor that reflected the sunlight like mirrors. Their helmets had long silver crests and their weapons shone with blue energy. The leader stopped first, stepping off his bike with a slow, proud movement. His voice echoed through a metal speaker. Step away from the prisoner, outsider. This is not your world. Eli said nothing. His hand stayed near the cutter, his stance strong. The leader walked closer, raising a sharp spear. Do you understand the punishment for helping a traitor? Eli replied quietly. I understand she was dying. The soldier's tone turned cold. That was her choice. You interfere with galactic law now. Eli's eyes narrowed. Law that kills mothers in the sun? I've seen enough. Before the leader could answer, Eli moved. He threw a handful of sand into the air, blinding the guards for a second. Then he fired his plasma cutter like a short laser, hitting the closest bike's fuel line. The machine exploded in a flash of blue fire. The guards shouted and spread out. Energy bolts cut through the air, burning small holes into the rocks. Lyra screamed and covered Rin with her arms. Eli ducked behind a stone and breathed fast. He counted the shots. Their weapons were strong but slow to recharge. He had maybe 10 seconds to move. He rolled to another rock, grabbed a metal shard from the ground and threw it like a knife. It hit one guard's weapon, knocking it aside. Then he jumped forward and kicked the soldier down. The impact sent both sliding through the sand. Human, one of the soldiers shouted. You fight for those who betrayed the council? Eli shouted back. I fight for what's right. The battle raged. 2 more guards charged, firing energy spears. Eli ducked behind another rock as bolts exploded around him. He felt the heat burn his arm but didn't stop. Lyra, hiding with Rin, saw one soldier sneaking behind Eli. She reached for a broken stone and threw it. It hit the soldier's helmet, making him turn. Eli used that moment to fire again. The bolt hit the soldier's chest plate, sending him falling hard. But the leader remained. He walked slowly through the smoke, his armor glowing. Impressive, human. But your luck ends now. Eli stood, breathing hard, his clothes covered in dust. Try me. The leader lifted his spear, which hummed with electric light. You should not have come to this world. Eli raised his plasma cutter. But before either could strike, the ground beneath them began to rumble. Rin screamed, The sand beasts. Lyra looked terrified. They come for the sound of battle. Suddenly, from beneath the sand, a giant creature erupted, a worm with crystal scales and glowing red eyes. It was the size of a ship, its mouth full of rows of teeth. The soldiers panicked. Retreat now, shouted one. But the worm turned toward the movement, the soldiers' hoverbikes, and attacked. One was swallowed whole in seconds. Eli grabbed Rin and pulled her close. Run! Lyra stumbled but followed. The ground shook so hard that the sand felt like water. Eli guided them toward a canyon ahead, away from the chaos. Behind them, the soldiers fired at the worm, their screams fading under the sound of thunder and sand. When they finally reached the canyon, all 3 collapsed behind a tall rock. The sound of the monster faded slowly into the distance. Eli wiped sweat from his face. Everyone okay? Rin nodded, shaking. You saved us again. Lyra looked at him with wide eyes. You risked your life for strangers, why? Eli leaned back against the rock, breathing heavily. Because no one deserves to die like that. Not in the sun. Not like your people's law says. Lyra's gaze softened. You don't understand this world, human. There are rules. There are powers beyond what you've seen. Eli looked up at the sky. 2 suns shining bright. A cruel and beautiful world staring back. Then I guess I'll just have to learn fast. Far behind them, the desert burned with blue flames, and one shadow, the soldier leader, still stood, watching where Eli escaped. His helmet glowed red as he sent a signal through his wrist communicator. Target escaped, he said coldly. Activate pursuit protocol. The hunt had just begun. The desert grew cold when the twin suns began to sink behind the red mountains. The sky turned dark orange and long shadows crawled across the sand. Eli, Lyra, and little Rin walked slowly through a narrow canyon, their feet dragging with exhaustion. Lyra's breathing was rough, her strength fading again. Eli helped her walk. We need shelter before night. The cold here is worse than the heat. Rin pointed ahead with her small glowing hand. There's a cave! I saw it once when the guards took us through here. They followed her to a dark opening in the rocks. The entrance looked like the mouth of a sleeping giant, wide, cracked, and covered with strange carvings. Symbols glowed faintly on the walls, moving like liquid light. Eli frowned. This isn't natural, Lyra nodded weakly. It's ancient, older than our cities. Some say this was made by the first ones, beings who came from the stars before us. Eli helped them inside. The air was cool, almost freezing. Small crystals on the ceiling glowed pale blue, lighting their path. The silence inside was heavy, broken only by their footsteps and Rin's quiet sniffles. They reached a large chamber deep inside. It had a round floor and walls covered with carvings, stars, planets, and human-like shapes. In the center stood a broken machine half buried in dust. Eli walked closer, wiping the dust from its surface. His heart skipped a beat. The symbols were not alien. They were English letters. What the... He whispered. He leaned closer and read the faint words. Property of Earth Federation, Explorer Unit 09. Lyra frowned. What does it say? It's from my world, Eli said softly. Earth, but this thing, it's hundreds of years old. Rin's eyes widened. Humans were here before? Eli's hands trembled slightly. Maybe. Or maybe this planet was visited long ago and forgotten. Suddenly a faint hum filled the air. The old machine flickered with weak light. Lyra stepped back nervously. Is it alive? Eli crouched down, examining a cracked control panel. It's a beacon, a kind of communication device. It might still hold data. He pressed a button, and the whole cave vibrated. A hologram burst into the air. A blue figure of a man wearing a human exploration suit. His voice echoed, glitching and broken. This is Commander Hayes, of the Earth Federation Mission 09. Zirath system discovered. Intelligent life confirmed. Mission failed. They found us. Then the recording cut off with static. Eli stared, frozen. Commander Hayes, he's from the same program I trained under back on Earth. That means my crash wasn't the first. Humans have been here before, and they didn't make it. Lyra touched his shoulder gently. Maybe your people came to help us once, and the Council destroyed them too. Rin looked scared. The Council kills everyone who breaks their laws. Even my father. He was taken away for speaking against them. Eli clenched his jaw. Then your Council has a lot to answer for. The machine beeped again, faint, weak, as if trying to say something more. Eli opened a small side panel and found a glowing cube. A memory core, he muttered. If I can power it up, it could tell us everything. But before he could continue, Lyra suddenly grabbed his arm. Her silver eyes widened. Do you hear that? Eli paused. The air around them started to change. A whispering sound filled the chamber like hundreds of voices speaking softly. The carvings on the walls began to glow brighter, moving in slow waves. Rin hid behind her mother. The whispers. Mommy, they're talking again. Eli stood still, listening. The voices weren't random. They were forming words he somehow understood. The stars remember. The war never ended. The human returns to finish what was started. Eli's heart pounded. What does that mean? Lyra shook her head, terrified. It's the first ones. The cave speaks only when destiny returns. My people call it the Cave of Whispers. It tells the future of worlds. The voices grew louder, almost shouting now. Light and shadow will clash again. Blood of human, blood of Zarath, one will decide the fate of both. Then silence. The glow faded, leaving only the faint blue light of the crystals. Rin whispered, Are we cursed now? Eli looked down at his hands. No. But something tells me this isn't just about survival anymore. Lyra sat down weakly, her eyes filled with fear and wonder. You came here for a reason, human. The cave has chosen you. The war they speak of, it destroyed our ancestors. If it returns, no one will survive. Eli stared at the memory cube in his palm. Then we'll stop it before it begins. Suddenly, his communicator, the one from his broken ship, beeped for the first time in months. A faint voice came through the static. Eli, this is Earth Base. Do you copy? He froze. Earth was calling. Lyra looked at him, confused. Who is that? Eli's eyes were wide, his voice quiet. Home. Outside, The desert wind screamed through the canyon, carrying the echoes of the cave's warning. The old communicator in Eli's hand sparked with weak blue light. Static filled the air and a broken voice struggled to come through. Eli Turner, if you can hear this, respond immediately. This is Earth Federation Command. Come in. Eli's breath caught in his throat. For months he had heard only silence. Now suddenly Earth was calling. He pressed the small button on the side. This is Eli Turner. I'm alive. I repeat, I'm alive. I'm on planet Zerath. Static swallowed his voice. Then the signal cleared for a moment. Eli, listen carefully, the voice said. Deeper and more urgent now. If you found the beacon, you're in danger. Mission 09 wasn't a research mission. It was a containment mission. Do not trust the locals. The Zerathians are not victims. They're the reason the first war started. Eli froze. What war? But before he got an answer, the device sparked again and died, smoke curling from its broken side. The cave returned to silence. Lyra looked at him, worried. What happened? Who was that voice? Eli sat down slowly, staring at the dead communicator. It was Earth Command. They said, your people started a war once. A war that destroyed worlds. Lyra's face turned pale. That's a lie. Rin hugged her mother's arm. Mommy didn't hurt anyone. Eli sighed, rubbing his forehead. I don't know what's true anymore. But that message, whoever sent it, didn't sound like a friend. The cave lights flickered again, responding to their voices as if alive. Lyra looked around. The first ones hear us even now. They never wanted war, but the council twisted everything they left behind. Eli stood restless. Then maybe the truth's buried in this planet, and we have to find it before the council does. He looked at the glowing memory cube he took from the beacon. This thing might still hold data from the old human mission. He placed the cube on the ground and connected it to his wrist computer. The hologram flickered to life again, this time clearer. It showed a group of humans standing beside alien leaders under a bright sky. Their hands were joined in peace. Then suddenly explosions filled the background. The image changed. Humans fighting alongside some aliens while others attacked them. The sound of screams echoed through the cave. A calm voice in the recording spoke. The Zerathian High Council betrayed the treaty. They unleashed a weapon, the solar chains. The war scorched both worlds. We failed to contain it. Eli's heart sank. He looked at Lyra. Solar chains. That's what they tied you with, wasn't it? She nodded slowly, remembering the burning ropes that had bound her. Those were made long ago. They used the power of the suns. Only the council keeps that technology now. Eli's expression hardened. So the council still has the same weapons that ended the last war. He paced the cave floor, thinking fast. If Earth knows, they might send soldiers again. And if the council finds me, they'll kill us all before that happens. Lyra touched his arm gently. Then you must leave this world. He turned to her. And leave you and Rin to die? No. Rin's silver eyes glimmered. Human, are you angry? Eli kneeled beside her and smiled faintly. A little scared, that's all. But in truth, fear had already turned into resolve. The message from Earth had lit something inside him. Not confusion, but determination. If both sides had blood on their hands, then someone needed to end it. He turned back to Lyra. Is there anyone who still fights the council? Rebels, maybe? She hesitated, then nodded. Yes. There's a hidden city called Avalar, deep inside the Crystal Canyons. My brother was part of the resistance. But it's far, and the way is deadly. Then that's where we're going, Eli said firmly. Before they could move, a faint red light blinked across the cave walls. A scanner beam. Lyra gasped. They've found us! Outside, the sound of engines grew louder again. The soldiers had returned, and this time they brought drones with burning eyes. Eli grabbed the memory cube and packed it into his bag. We need to move now. They ran toward the back of the cave where a narrow tunnel sloped downward. The walls glowed with old energy, as if guiding them. Behind the first explosion shook the entrance. Rin stumbled, crying. Eli lifted her in his arms, running faster. Lyra followed, her breath ragged but her eyes blazing with new strength. As they reached the tunnel's end, they emerged into a hidden valley, wide, green, and filled with strange glowing plants. It was the first life Eli had seen on this dry planet. Lyra gasped. The hidden garden. It's real. Behind them, the cave collapsed with a thunderous roar. The drone's lights disappeared under the falling stone. Eli set Rin down and turned to look at Lyra. "Looks like your world still has some secrets left." She smiled faintly, her silver hair shining under the pale moons. "Maybe the planet wants us alive." Eli looked up at the stars, at the same constellations he had seen from Earth, now seen from a cursed world. "Then we'll use every secret it gives us," he said quietly, "because something tells me this is only the beginning." In the distance, the last rays of twin suns faded, and a cold wind blew across the valley, whispering of war, truth, and destiny. The night on Zerath was silent, but never peaceful. The moons glowed like cold eyes watching from above, and the wind sang through the rocks like an ancient voice. Eli, Lyra, and little Rin moved quietly through the valley beneath the mountains. The glowing plants around them gave off soft blue light, enough to see the path ahead. Eli carried his plasma cutter in one hand and his bag in the other, ready for anything. Lyra looked weak but determined. "If we follow this valley, we'll reach the entrance to the Crystal Canyons by sunrise," she said. "But we must stay off the main trails. The Council's drones search them." Eli nodded. "Then we'll make our own path." As they walked, the silence between them grew heavy. Rin held Lyra's hand and whispered, "Mommy, will the bad men come again?" Lyra smiled sadly. "Not if the stars protect us." Eli overheard her words and looked up. The stars above shimmered faintly. He wondered if Earth was out there listening. Or maybe Earth had already decided this planet wasn't worth saving. After hours of walking, they reached a wall of glassy stone that rose high into the night sky. The moonlight made it sparkle like diamonds. "The Crystal Canyons," Lyra said quietly. "They were made when the first ones tried to stop the war. The fire of the suns turned sand into crystal." Eli touched the surface. It was smooth and warm, humming faintly under his fingers. "Feels alive." "The crystals remember sound," Lyra said. "They echo voices from the past." Rin giggled and clapped her hands. "Voices, can I hear them?" "Sometimes," Lyra said softly. "But not all voices are kind." They entered the canyon through a narrow crack between two giant walls. Light reflected from every direction, painting their faces in colors of red, gold, and blue. The air was full of faint humming like 1,000 whispers carried by the wind. Eli looked around, amazed. "It's beautiful," Lyra smiled faintly, "and dangerous." As they walked deeper, Rin suddenly stopped. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Eli turned. "What?" A faint echo drifted through the canyon. His own voice. "We'll make our own path." Eli froze. "That's impossible," Lyra frowned. "The crystals copy what they hear. But sometimes, they play back voices that never belonged to us." Before Eli could answer, the walls flashed with light. A deep voice thundered through the canyon, one he didn't recognize. "The human returns to the battlefield. The cycle begins again." Rin screamed and hid behind her mother. The voice echoed again and again until it faded. Lyra whispered, "The first ones are warning us." Eli gritted his teeth. "Then let's move faster before the canyon decides to talk again." They walked for another hour, following a path that twisted between tall crystal towers. The air grew warmer. The ground began to tremble. Suddenly, a flash of red light shot across the wall. "A drone scanner. They found us," Eli shouted. The hum of engines grew louder as metal shapes flew above the canyon. Energy blasts hit the walls, making the crystals shatter into sharp rain. Eli grabbed Rin and pulled her behind a fallen rock. Lyra hid beside them. "There's a tunnel ahead," she shouted. "It leads to the underground river. Go," Eli said. They ran, dodging blasts of blue fire. One drone flew low, its red eye glowing. Eli aimed his plasma cutter and fired. The bolt hit its wing, sending it crashing into the canyon wall. Shards of crystal exploded, lighting the whole canyon in brilliant white. Rin covered her ears and screamed. "It's too loud!" The echo bounced back stronger, repeating every sound, every shout. The canyon became a storm of voices and thunder. Eli pulled them into the tunnel just as another explosion shook the ground. The tunnel sloped down sharply and they slid into darkness. For a long time, there was only the sound of their breathing and the faint drip of water. Finally, they stopped at a narrow underground river glowing faint green. Lyra fell to her knees, gasping. "We're safe. For now." Eli looked around. The cave walls were covered in strange markings, human letters mixed with alien symbols. He traced one with his finger. "This isn't just natural. Someone built this," Lyra nodded. The rebels used these tunnels to move in secret. My brother told me stories. If we follow the river, it should take us to Avalar. Rin looked up at Eli, her silver eyes wide. Will your people come for you now? Eli hesitated. I don't know. But if they do, I have to make sure they don't destroy this planet again. Lyra watched him closely. You speak like a soldier, but your heart is different. Eli smiled faintly. Maybe I stopped being a soldier the day I saw what your people did to you. Rin tugged on his sleeve. I think the river is talking. They all listened. Beneath the sound of flowing water, there was a faint rhythm, like a pulse. Lyra's eyes widened. It's not water. It's energy. The first ones built this river to carry power across the planet. Eli stared into the glowing current. Power, or a weapon? Lyra shook her head. Both. Eli looked ahead where the river disappeared into darkness. Then let's follow it. Maybe your rebels aren't the only ones hiding here. Behind them, far above the canyon, the surviving soldier leader stood at the shattered edge of the crystals. His armor was cracked, his red visor burning. He looked down at the glowing canyon and said coldly, The prophecy has begun. The human must not reach Avalar. The underground river carried them through miles of darkness. Its green glow shimmered on the wet stone walls, lighting their faces with ghostly light. Eli paddled with a broken piece of metal while Rin sat quietly in his lap, her small fingers tracing the glowing current. Lyra rested beside them, eyes half open, whispering prayers in her alien tongue. Hours passed before the tunnel widened. A new light appeared ahead, soft gold and warm. Eli squinted, unsure if it was real or another trick of the crystals. But as they floated closer, the cave opened into a massive chamber and his eyes widened in awe. An entire city shimmered beneath the earth. Tall crystal towers rose from the glowing riverbanks connected by bridges of light. Floating orbs hung in the air like miniature suns. The walls of the cavern glittered as if covered with stars. Lyra smiled for the first time in days. Avalar, it's real, Rin gasped. It's beautiful, Mommy. Eli stared, amazed. Your people built this underground? Lyra nodded proudly. The rebels did. Those who refused the council's control. They used the first one's power to hide their home. They reached the shore where two figures stepped from the shadows. Tall aliens wearing black cloaks with silver emblems on their chests. Their eyes glowed faint blue. One of them aimed a weapon at Eli. Stop right there, human, the guard said coldly. No outsiders allowed here. Lyra raised her hands quickly. Wait, I am Lyra Ven of the Southern Colony. My brother serves in Avalar. This man saved my life. The guards looked at each other. Then the taller one lowered his weapon slightly. Lyra Ven? Your brother is Commander Kale? Yes, she said. Please take us to him. The guards hesitated, then nodded. Follow us. But the human stays under watch, Eli shrugged. Fine by me. They walked through the glowing streets. Alien children played beside the crystal fountains, their laughter echoing through the caves. Others worked on strange machines that hummed with soft light. Eli could feel their eyes on him, suspicious, afraid, and curious all at once. Soon they reached a large hall made of blue glass. Inside, a tall man with silver eyes and strong features turned as they entered. Lyra ran forward. Kyle! Her brother froze for a second, then rushed to her, pulling her into a tight embrace. Lyra, I thought you were dead. I almost was, she whispered. Until he found me. She looked back at Eli. Kale's eyes followed her gaze. A human? You brought one of them here? Eli met his look. You're welcome, Kyle frowned. You don't understand what you've done. The council hunts all of us now, and with you here they'll send worse than soldiers. Eli took the glowing memory cube from his bag and placed it on the table. Then you should see this, he activated it. The hologram appeared again, showing the ancient battle between humans and Zarathians, the fall of the old cities and the weapon known as the solar chains. When it ended, the room fell silent. Kyle clenched his fists. So it's true. The council kept the chains. They still draw energy from the suns. Lyra looked at her brother. Why would they keep something that destroyed our world? Kale's voice was low. Because they use it to rule. The solar chains aren't just weapons. They power their entire system. Their cities, their armies, even their lifespan. Without them, the council would fall. Eli's eyes darkened. Then destroying those chains would destroy their control. Kale nodded slowly. Maybe, but no one knows where they are hidden. Rin tugged on her uncle's robe. I saw the light once, Uncle Cale, when they took Mommy away. It came from the Sky Mountains. Cale's eyes widened. The Sky Peaks? He looked at Lyra. That's where the old reactor was buried. Eli leaned forward. If that's where the chains are, then that's where we go. Kyle shook his head. It's suicide. The peaks are guarded by the Sun Fortress, a weapon powered by the same energy that binds the chains. Eli smiled faintly. I've faced worse. Cale studied him for a long moment. You sound like your ancestors. They came with promises, too, and left our world in ashes. Eli met his gaze. Then maybe it's time someone finished what they started. The right way. Before Cale could answer, an alarm rang through the city. Red lights flashed across the walls. A soldier burst in shouting, "Quania, Commander! The outer tunnels of the Council's forces are here. They've found us!" Lyra gasped. No, how? Cale's face hardened. They followed your trail from the canyon. He turned to Eli. You brought death to our doors, human. Eli grabbed his cutter and faced him calmly. Then help me stop it. Cale hesitated, then nodded. Follow me. They ran out into the streets as explosions shook the ground. Drones filled the cavern sky, firing beams that shattered the crystal towers. Rebels fought back with glowing rifles. The once peaceful city became a battlefield of fire and light. Eli turned to Lyra and Rin. Get to safety. I'll hold them off. Lyra shouted. No! We stay together. Cale looked at his sister, then at Eli, and threw him a strange metallic sphere. If you really want to help, use this. It disrupts their energy field. Eli caught it, nodded, and ran toward the main gate. Blue fire lit the walls, and the ground trembled under the enemy's advance. As he reached the gate, he saw the familiar red visor of the soldier leader from the desert, standing tall amid the smoke. Their eyes met. The leader's voice echoed coldly. You should have died under the suns, human. Eli grinned, thumbed the trigger on the sphere and said, I'm not done yet. He hurled it forward, and the world exploded in white light. When the light faded, the air smelled of smoke and burning metal. Avalar was half destroyed. Towers cracked, bridges shattered, and the glowing river ran red with dust. But the explosion had bought them time. The Council's drones were gone, their signal jammed by Cale's device. Eli stood amid the rubble, bruised but alive. His ears rang, but his focus was sharp. Around him the rebels gathered, tired, frightened yet burning with new purpose. Kyle walked up beside him, holding his injured arm. You did it. The pulse shut down their systems for a while, but they'll return. Eli looked toward the ceiling of the vast cavern. Faint sunlight leaked through cracks high above. Then we hit them before they do. We end this when we're at the Sky Peaks. Lyra stepped forward, her silver hair streaked with ash. That's where the chains are hidden. The sun's power. Kyle hesitated. You'll never get close. The fortress is surrounded by storms, and the weapon guarding it, it's alive. Eli looked at him steadily. Then we'll find a way. Rin tugged on Eli's hand. Her small voice was calm but certain. The stars showed me, Eli. The chains don't just destroy, they can also heal. He knelt to meet her eyes. What do you mean? Rin touched her glowing necklace. The same stone Lyra had worn since the day he freed her. The first ones gave their power to protect, not kill. The chains only obey those who understand both worlds, human and Zareth. Eli's breath caught. He glanced at Lyra, who stared at her daughter in awe. Rin, she whispered, how do you know this? The cave told me, the child said softly. When we ran, I heard the whispers again. They said the bridge between stars must rise. Kyle frowned. A prophecy, Eli stood. Then maybe that bridge is me. He turned toward the rebels. If we destroy the chains, the council falls. But if Rin's right, maybe we can use them to bring balance instead of death. Kyle looked at him long and hard, then finally nodded. Then we go together. They began their journey at dawn. A stolen transport ship carried them through endless plains until the Sky Peaks rose before them. Massive mountains of blue stone that reached into the clouds. Lightning danced around their tips, feeding glowing streams that ran down their sides. The fortress is built into the heart of the tallest peak, Cale said, over the roar of the wind. Its core draws energy straight from the suns. Eli tightened his grip on the controls. Then that's our target. Lyra sat beside him, her eyes reflecting both fear and faith. If we fail, this world burns again. Eli nodded. Then we don't fail. As they neared the summit, the sky turned gold. Energy storms flashed around them, shaking the ship. The fortress appeared, a giant structure carved into the rock, glowing like a heart of fire. Drones swarmed as they approached. Kale fired the ship's cannons, clearing a path. "Hold on!" he shouted. Eli dove the ship through the flames, landing hard on a wide platform. Metal screeched. The hatch burst open and they ran into the chaos. Dozens of armored soldiers awaited them. The leader stood at the center, the same one from the desert, his red visor glowing. "Human," he said, raising his weapon, "you've come far enough." Eli stepped forward. "You've tortured and ruled long enough. It ends today." The leader tilted his head. "Do you even know what you fight for? The chains feed life itself. Without them, both our species die." Eli froze. "You're lying." "I speak the truth," the leader hissed. "The council merely controls what the first ones left behind." "Destroy the chains and you destroy your own link to survival," Lyra shouted. "Then free them. Use them as they were meant to be used." The leader laughed bitterly. No one can control the suns. But before he could strike, Rin stepped out from behind Eli. The necklace around her neck shone brightly, pulsing with the same rhythm as the fortress. "Maybe not no one," she said softly. The red glow of the chains answered her. The entire mountain trembled. Energy lines spread from the fortress to the sky. The clouds parted, and for a moment the suns aligned perfectly overhead. Rin raised her hands, her voice steady. "Eli, help me!" Eli grabbed the fallen cables from the control console and linked them to his suit's power core. "Lyra, guide her!" Lyra ran forward, placing her hands on the glowing floor. Her silver veins lit up. "Rin, focus on life, not destruction." The leader screamed and fired, but Kale intercepted him, grappling in a flash of steel and flame. Eli shouted over the roaring wind. "Rin, now!" The girl closed her eyes. A bright light burst from her body, spreading through the fortress. The solar chains cracked, glowing white instead of red. The storms above stopped, and for the first time in centuries the suns shone gently. The fortress began to collapse. Eli grabbed Rin and pulled her close. "It's over," he whispered. Lyra looked around, tears streaming down her face. "You changed it. You changed everything." Kale, bruised but alive, looked up at the sky. "The chains are free. The council's power is gone." The soldier leader lay on the ground, his armor broken. His voice was weak. "You think this is victory? But the energy? It's unstable." Eli looked at him grimly. "Then I'll hold it steady." He pressed his hand against the central core, letting the energy flow into his suit. Pain shot through his body, but he didn't stop. "Get them out!" he yelled. Lyra screamed, "Eli, no!" He smiled faintly. Tell her humans don't always destroy." A final burst of light engulfed the fortress. When the suns rose again, the sky peaks were quiet. The fortress was gone, replaced by a glowing lake of calm light. Lyra and Rin stood at its edge, holding hands. Kale placed a hand on his sister's shoulder. "He's part of the light now," Rin whispered. "He didn't die. He became the bridge." In the reflection of the twin suns, faintly, a human figure appeared, smiling, before fading into the light.